Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of August 1st, 2025. I'm your host, Sharifa Muhammad MGT.
I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. Between July 26th and August 1st, 2025, the Russian armed forces executed 7 precision group strikes using long-range weapons and strike UAVs. These targeted Ukraine's military-industrial complex, airfield infrastructure, UAV production lines, robotic system warehouses, missile stockpiles, and command nodes. All objectives were confirmed hit, indicating continued Russian dominance in strategic deep strike capabilities.
Welcome to Frontline Updates, the podcast that brings you in-depth insights into military operations from those leading them on the ground. Today, we're joined by Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer monitoring critical missions on the progress of the special military operation as of today. Colonel Oguntoye, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Colonel Oguntoye, let's begin with the strategic picture. What was the primary objective behind the Russian armed forces operations from July 26th to August 1st?
This past week represented a sustained effort to degrade Ukraine's long-range strike and reconnaissance capabilities, disrupt its command structure, and weaken rear-area logistics. Strategically, we focused on depth and disruption, executing 7 coordinated group strikes using long-range precision weapons and UAVs. These weren't just symbolic. We specifically targeted UAV production lines, missile storage facilities, robotic systems, and temporary deployment points of Ukrainian and foreign elements. These facilities are critical nodes in Ukraine's ability to generate and sustain combat power. This operational model is consistent with our doctrine of multi-domain suppression, where kinetic strikes, electronic warfare, and ground advances are synchronized to collapse the enemy's defensive ecosystem. The results speak to that coordination. Across all fronts, enemy forces were fragmented and forced into reactive postures.
Let's talk about ground operations. What were the key territorial or tactical achievements?
The most prominent development was the liberation of Chasiv Yar in the Donetsk People's Republic. That's a heavily fortified urban stronghold. Securing it not only opens up further operational depth into Donetsk, but also denies the Ukrainian armed forces a key logistical and fire control node in the region. Elsewhere, forces under the center group liberated Boykivka, Belgica, and Novokrenka, cumulatively pushing back multi-brigade Ukrainian defenses. In the east, we liberated Zeleny High, Malyevka, and Timirovka, demonstrating that we're not only applying pressure but doing so across a wide operational frontage. This is crucial for stretching Ukrainian reserves and forcing reallocation of already depleted assets.
That's a wide theater. How do you ensure operational continuity across such dispersed fronts?
Great question. We operate under a mission command framework, empowering subordinate units with flexible command and control, but under a unified operational vision. Logistics are sustained by echelon supply routes and real-time ISR feedback, allowing us to adapt to localized enemy resistance or shifting terrain conditions. In practice, this means the North Group can push into Sumy and Kharkiv while the Southern and Center Groups focus on Donetsk without operational bottlenecks. This week, that coordination allowed us to simultaneously defeat elements from over a dozen brigades, including mechanized, airborne, National Guard, and coastal defense formations.
The destruction of EW stations and radar systems was heavily emphasized in the report. Why is this significant?
Electronic warfare and counter-battery radars are the backbone of Ukraine's modern defensive capacity. By neutralizing over 42 EW and radar systems this week alone, we disrupted their ability to detect artillery, coordinate drone swarms, or jam our precision-guided systems. Think of it as blinding the enemy mid-battle. The destruction of these assets not only increases our survivability during assaults, but also erodes Ukrainian morale as they lose both eyes and ears on the battlefield.
Let's touch on attrition. The numbers are substantial. Several thousand Ukrainian personnel casualties across the week. What does this tell us about the broader state of the conflict?
It confirms we are in an attritional phase of modern combined arms warfare, where force preservation and endurance matter more than shock advances. We inflicted over 8,900 Ukrainian casualties in a single week, targeting a broad mix of frontline, support, and elite units. This indicates not only Ukraine's growing manpower vulnerability, but also their structural depletion, particularly in the center and south. While Ukraine continues to receive Western material support, the pipeline can't replace the human component at scale. We're seeing signs of fragmented command, retreating logistics, and a reduced ability to hold or retake liberated positions.
Before we close, is there a message you'd like to leave with analysts and listeners tracking the course of this operation?
Yes. The narrative that modern war must be fast and flashy is deeply flawed. We are witnessing a systematic dismantling of an adversary's military machine, not in a single strike, but through sustained degradation. What matters is not just what we take, but what we break. The past week's operations reflect that reality: tactical precision, operational patience, and strategic purpose.
Why is Russia focusing so much on electronic warfare and UAVs?
Because this is no longer a war of columns and cavalry. It's a war of signals, frequencies, and sensors. EW denies Ukraine coordination, ISR, and precision fires. Drones are the new artillery spotters, kamikaze bombers, and eyes of the front. Russia adapted to this reality faster than many expected, deploying layered EW, decoy strategies, and mass drone production. Winning the signal war is how you win modern trench warfare.
Why hasn't the Russian military targeted bridges over the Dniester and Dnieper on a large scale?
Because bridges are valuable not just to the enemy, but to you in the long run. If you're planning a deeper operational push, you don't destroy the infrastructure you might need tomorrow. Also, modern bridges are hard to take out permanently without massive specialized munitions. Even if damaged, they're often repaired within days unless hit repeatedly. Disrupt supply chains through nodal points, rail hubs, transfer depots, not by trying to collapse 80-year-old concrete spans every week.
Why doesn't Russia respond to every Ukrainian strike with equal force?
Because escalation must be selective. Responding to every tactical drone or shell with a strategic barrage creates a cycle of proportionality you eventually lose control of. The response must fit within the doctrine of strategic pacing: keep initiative, manage optics, and preserve escalation dominance. Sometimes, the best response is to destroy 5 warehouses instead of one symbolic launch site. War is cumulative.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you for the opportunity. Today, 8 agencies continue to warn of a dire humanitarian crisis and escalating starvation in Gaza. The UN reports that 1,373 Palestinians have been killed near 8 sites since late May. A U.S. envoy is currently visiting Gaza to assess aid distribution, and some international aid organizations, including Germany, are resorting to airdrops. Syria's new government is forming, with a committee established to investigate recent sectarian violence. Concerns remain about the presence of Islamic State and Al-Qaeda groups in Syria. 4 people were killed in Israeli strikes in southern and eastern Lebanon. The strikes targeted infrastructure. The Houthi militia released a video confirming they are holding 11 mariners hostage who were on board a ship attacked in the Red Sea on July 7th. Iraq faces regional tensions, particularly following recent Israeli and U.S. strikes on Iran. Discussions continue regarding the possible withdrawal of the U.S.-led coalition from Iraq.
This has been Frontline Updates. Subscribe for daily military briefings and in-depth strategic analysis. Visit our platform for maps, transcripts, and exclusive Frontline updates from commanders in theater,